Hi. So I said yesterday that I would try to make a video that's maybe more positive for all my Democratic friends out there. So I wanted to make a video today why Kamala Harris can win the 2024 presidential election. The parenthetical is this isn't actually what I think will happen, but I think it's a close enough election that either side could win. And so here are the 5 things that I think would happen if Harris ends up winning the presidency. The first is that she will benefit tremendously from not having to go through a primary. As a general matter, I think primaries are good. In 2008, Barack Obama, at the beginning and at the end of the primary, was a completely different candidate, a completely different person. I think he was savvier. He had refined his message. He had learned how to talk to key demographics that would end up helping him to produce a pretty big electoral college victory over John McCain. So generally, I think that the nominating processes end up sharpening candidates. But that having been said, in 2019, when Harris was running for the 2020 nomination, the thing that was pretty clear is that she was a little bit more centrist than the party was. And she struggled to articulate kind of a left-leaning message that would resonate with Democratic primary voters, because that's not really where she was. And that's not really who she is. She gets to skip that process. And so she is a candidate who's maybe better made for a general election in terms of her overall views, which is slightly more centrist than what the mean Democratic primary voter would want. And that will help her. Second is she has a unified party. Joe Biden had low enthusiasm from the Democratic Party. That seems to have changed. There's no real dissent within the Democratic Party. She doesn't have to worry about a Bernie faction. And this is additionally kind of one of the benefits of not having to go through a primary. There's no factions that she has to appease. She can simply focus on winning the general election against Donald Trump. And that frees her up ideologically and strategically in a lot of ways, where she doesn't have to make sure that her party is unified before moving forward. The third is that it's clear that the Democratic Party wants to bait Donald Trump. It doesn't. This is an aside. It doesn't take a lot for people to do this, but they want to bait him into showing his worst self when it comes to racism and sexism. It's no secret that he has some challenges when it comes to talking about women. And that the idea of him standing on a debate stage across from a black woman is very likely to pique him to say some terrible things. And so that version of Donald Trump is the one that people like the least. And if they get a consistent dose of it between now and the election, that could help turn off the 4% of voters out there who end up being swing voters, which are white women in these suburban Detroit, suburban Milwaukee, suburban Philadelphia and Pittsburgh that will ultimately probably decide the election. Fourth, it seems that Harris is making a bet that the Sun Belt states are her path to victory. This is a very different path, I think, that Joe Biden was taking. And it's partly a demographic one. I think she sees that she does slightly better, not slightly, she does substantially better with Latino voters, and that she'll excite more black women, which is kind of the core of the Democratic Party. And so turnout can be better there. And so Georgia and North Carolina are maybe more likely or doable for her. And Nevada and Arizona are also states that maybe she could be stronger at. On this point, I would really see what she does for her vice presidential pick. A lot of people are thinking that she might go with Governor Cooper out of North Carolina, which would signal that that's where she's gonna put her emphasis. It's a bet, right? It's and if you're an underdog, it's the type of bet that maybe you have to make, which is to try to expand the map to increase your different options. But I think if she wins, it'll be in part because this bet has played off for her, that she'll be able to win maybe 2 of these Sun Belt states, and that could mitigate the loss of 1 or 2 of the traditional blue wall states in the upper Midwest. Lastly, I think that there's an issue with Trump fatigue. it was clear when it was Biden versus Trump that people just wanted to move past these two. It remains to be seen if there's a big appetite to move past Trump. He has been, it was exhausting, I think, for everybody. Is whether you support him or not, those 4 years were they were turbulent. They were frequently vexing. There just comes a point where I think a lot of people would prefer not to wake up and read news about him. And Trump fatigue could be a thing. It seems that the Republican Party is still really excited about him, and he has his core voters at that 46.5% that will be there almost irrespective of what he does. But part of this ultimately will be about whether or not Kamala Harris can make this about Trump and then force people to reckon with whether or not they simply want to hear from this man for 4 more years. And if she wins, my guess is that a big part of that is going to be because people decide that that's not what they want. All right, so those are my 5 reasons why Kamala Harris can win this election. Tomorrow, I'll talk about maybe why Trump will win the election. All right, I'll see you then.